Leo stepped onto the wide stone plaza of the Zelvorian moon just as the twin suns dipped low. Cool lanterns floated above food stalls that glowed in gentle hues of blue and green. Exotic fruits hovered in glass bowls, and soft music drifted from crystal speakers. He paused, his bright eyes taking in the shimmering crystals that hummed when touched. The air smelled of sweet spice and warm metal. Everywhere he looked, alien traders shouted offers in strange tones. Despite the noise, Leo felt a quiet excitement. He had come from Earth on his first journey beyond the solar system, and his heart beat with wonder as he wandered past a stall selling floating silk scarves. Leo noticed an old woman crouched behind a low wall. Her gray hair fell in thin strands, and her clothes were torn in places. She held out a small bowl that contained only a few copper coins. Her voice was a soft whisper. "Help me, child." The chill of the evening wind made her shiver, and Leo's heart ached. He had learned kindness from his mother back home, and he could not turn away. With careful steps, he approached her, mindful not to startle her thin frame. Leo knelt beside the beggar and gently helped her gather coins that had spilled onto the cold stones. Each time he picked one up, his small fingers closed around the metal and placed it in her bowl. The woman's eyes filled with gratitude, and she offered him a weak smile. Around them, the crowd flowed by, but few stopped. Most Zelvorian shoppers were too busy with their glowing wares to notice, yet Leo treated the task as urgent and sacred. He wanted to show her that kindness still mattered, even on a distant moon filled with wonders. From across the plaza, a group of tall, blue-skinned nobles watched with amusement. They floated on small hover discs and wore jeweled collars that caught the last rays of the suns. When they saw Leo helping the old woman, they laughed in a series of high-pitched clicks. One noble pointed a thin finger at him and whispered too. The others joined in, their laughter echoing like bright chimes. They saw only a human boy wasting his time on someone they called worthless. Their voices carried on the breeze, intended to sting. But Leo did not look up. Instead, he noticed that the night air had grown colder. He slipped off his light jacket, which he had wrapped around his waist, and draped it gently over the old woman's shoulders. The fabric was soft and warm, and she drew it close to her chest. Her eyes shone with tears as she pressed a hand to her heart. Leo offered her a shy smile, his own cheeks warming with the strange mix of pride and embarrassment. At that moment, the plaza seemed to grow quieter, as though the world itself paused to watch his simple act. The old woman reached up, touched Leo's hand with a trembling finger. "You have a kind heart, child," she whispered. Her voice carried a strength that surprised him. He felt a gentle warmth spread through his chest, as if he had done something very important. The nobles on their hover discs slowed their laughter for a moment, their jeweled collars reflecting the soft glow of the lanterns. Something in Leo's calm kindness made them uneasy, though they did not understand why. Around them, a few merchants peeked over their stalls. A fruit vendor with purple skin offered Leo a sweet, floating berry as a gift. Another trader, a small creature with 3 eyes, knelt and handed him a smooth crystal pebble. Whispers passed through the crowd. Some praised the boy's good heart. Others wondered why he would help a stranger with nothing to give in return. Leo accepted the gifts with a humble bow. Turning his attention back to the old woman to make sure she was warm enough, as the first stars appeared in the twin sun sky, Leo rose and offered his hand to help the old woman stand. "Roach," she leaned on him. With surprising strength, together they walked toward a hidden alley where a kindly baker shared warm bread. Leo's eyes shone with hope. He did not know then that the beggar was far more than she seemed. But in that plaza, under floating lanterns and curious stares, a human boy's simple act of kindness lit a spark that would change many lives. Leo woke early under the pale light of the twin suns. He returned to the busy plaza with a soft smile, hoping to see the old woman again. The air was cool, and gentle lanterns still glowed above the stalls. As he reached the hidden alley, he found her leaning on the low stone wall. She did not speak, but her tired eyes met his. Leo knelt beside her and offered his hand. Together they stepped into the path toward the warm bakery where the baker had left fresh rolls. The smell of sweet dough and roasted beans filled the air, and Leo's heart lifted at the thought of sharing another meal. They sat at a small wooden table under the lantern light. The woman broke the soft crust and offered a piece to Leo, her hands still trembling from chill and hunger. Leo accepted with a humble bow and tasted the warm bread. Each bite was simple and kind, just like his own act of help. The woman offered him a thin cup of sweet tea, blowing gently on the surface before raising it to her lips. When she spoke, her voice was soft but sure. "You have given me more than food." Leo felt a gentle warmth spread in his chest. He looked down and said, "I only did what my mother taught me." The woman's gaze softened, and she reached into her tattered shawl. Leo watched as she pulled out a small carved charm. The crystal was shaped like a star, and it caught stray beams of light. "Take this," she whispered, pressing it into his palm. "It will guide you when you feel lost." Leo's fingers closed around the cool surface, and he felt a faint hum. He stared at the star, wondering how something so small could feel so powerful. He whispered a shy thank you, and she nodded once, before drawing her shawl tighter around her shoulders. Meanwhile, the blue-skinned nobles drifted above in their hover discs. They clicked and whispered among jeweled collars that caught the sun's rays. One noble sneered, "The human boy begs like a pauper," and another added a mocking trill. They plotted to parade him again as a foolish curiosity. They saw only a human wasting time on a stranger with no title or wealth. Their laughter rang out like bright chimes, but this morning it felt hollow. Something in the gentle glow of the crystal charm made them pause, though none dared to speak of it. Back on the plaza floor, other merchants watched Leo's quiet act. The purple-skinned fruit vendor called, "Boy, taste this jewelberry," and placed a glowing berry in his hand. A three-eyed trader draped in silk robes offered a smooth pebble and said, "For good luck." Leo accepted both gifts with a grateful nod, then shared the berries and pebble with the old woman. Her eyes glistened as she tasted the sweet fruit. Shoppers paused and whispered, "Humans have strange customs," but Leo paid them no mind. In his heart, he felt only the joy of giving and the warmth of true friendship. As the day grew warmer, the woman stood and placed her hand gently on Leo's shoulder. She spoke in a low tone, "Your kindness has opened more doors than you know." Leo looked into her eyes and saw gentle strength shining there. She pointed to the carved lines on her shawl, faint runes that formed a map of distant stars. He touched one line and felt the charm in his palm vibrate. He realized the gift was more than a token. It was a promise. The woman's smile held a secret that made his heart beat faster with hope. Late in the afternoon, Leo escorted the woman back toward the market gate. She stopped at the edge of the plaza and turned to him. "Thank you, kind human," she said. Softly, Leo bowed his head and replied, "I only did what felt right." She gave a small, graceful nod, then stepped into the crowd. In moments, she was gone, as if she had never been there. Leo stood still, clutching the crystal star and staring at the empty space she had filled. His eyes shone with wonder and a touch of sadness, for he knew his simple act of help had set a new story in motion. Leo returned to the plaza just as the twin suns sank below the horizon. Soft lantern light bathed the stalls in warm gold. He moved with quiet steps toward the hidden alley, clutching the carved star charm. His heart fluttered with hope and a little worry. Would the old woman be there again? As he rounded a low stone wall, he saw her silhouette, thin and bowed, waiting in the gentle glow. Her gray hair caught the lantern light like silver threads. When their eyes met, Leo felt a gentle peace settle inside him. He guided her to a small alcove behind the spice merchant's stall. The baker had left 2 steaming bowls of stew and a loaf of warm bread on a wooden crate. The rich scent of vegetables and soft dough filled the air. Leo poured broth into a shallow dish and broke the bread with careful fingers. The woman's eyes shone as she dipped a torn piece of crust into the stew and lifted it to her lips. Leo watched her smile, and a soft warmth spread through his chest. Sharing a simple meal felt like a celebration of kindness itself. Between spoonfuls, the woman spoke in a low, steady voice. She told a story of distant stars and hidden empires, of lost travelers who found home through gentle acts. Leo listened, his mind full of wonder. Each word seemed to echo the hum of the star charm in his hand. He felt as if he were learning an ancient truth that compassion could bridge worlds. The woman's voice held quiet power. When she paused, Leo placed his hand over his heart and whispered, "I will never forget this gift." Above them, the blue-skinned nobles drifted on their hover discs. Their jeweled collars caught the last light of day as they clicked and whispered. "See how the human clings to a beggar?" One sneered, another clicked in agreement, he thinks. "This fools will respect him." They planned to bring Leo out at dawn, to parade him as a curiosity. Their laughter chimed through the air, but the words felt hollow beside the warmth of the shared meal below. Leo stood and offered the woman his water flask. She shook her head, her eyes gentle. "You have given far more," she said. He bowed his head, feeling both proud and shy. The lantern glow deepened around them, and the plaza fell mostly silent. A few merchants peeked from behind their stalls, touched by the quiet scene. Some nodded to Leo in respect, their earlier curiosity softened by his calm courage. As the night air grew cooler, the woman rose with slow grace. She tucked the empty bowl into her shawl and placed a steady hand on Leo's shoulder. "Remember," she whispered, "kindness lights the darkest path." She pressed the star charm into his palm again, pulsed softly, each beat like a quiet promise. Leo's fingers closed over it, and he felt a gentle strength fill him, as if he carried the light of 1,000 stars. Before he could speak, the woman slipped into the crowd. Her shawl blended with the shadows, and in moments she was gone. Leo stood alone in the alcove, the charm warm against his skin. Above him, a single crystal lantern flickered, as though in farewell. He breathed in the night air, his eyes bright with new purpose. He knew his simple act had meant more than he ever imagined. Holding the star charm close, Leo walked back through the lantern-lit stalls, toward his tiny quarters. Each step felt guided by an unseen hand. The market's distant hum faded behind him. In the stillness, he whispered to the night, "I will follow your light." And somewhere in the darkness, the charm glowed a little brighter, as if answering him. Ask ChatGPT. Leo woke before dawn, his breath forming small clouds in the cool air. He walked to the plaza, where lanterns still glowed faintly. In the pale light, the blue-skinned nobles gathered on their hover discs above the stalls. Their jeweled collars sparkled in the rising sun. Leo stepped forward when 2 guards approached him and gently took his arm. His heart fluttered, but he kept his voice calm as he said, "Please let me help the old woman first." The guards exchanged glances, then nodded without a word. Leo led them past glowing fruit and crystal speakers to the hidden alley. The old woman sat shivering on the cold stones, her shawl wrapped tightly around her thin shoulders. When she saw Leo approach with the guards, her eyes widened in concern. She rose slowly, leaning on Leo's outstretched hand. "What is this?" she asked softly. Leo smiled and replied, "They want to show me to the nobles." The woman's brows lifted, but she did not speak. Together, they moved back into the plaza under curious stares from merchants who were just opening their stalls. As the crowd gathered, the nobles clicked and laughed, pleased with their plan. They floated down to a raised platform set with crystal pillars and hung with glowing banners. The tallest noble spoke in a clear trill, "Let the human boy entertain us." The crowd murmured with expectation. Leo felt his chest tighten, but he remembered the woman's words. Kindness lights the darkest path. He straightened his shoulders and nodded politely, meeting the noble's gaze without fear. The platform was small, only wide enough for Leo and a guard. He stepped up, and the nobles hovered close. Bright light from crystal bulbs lit his face. The crowd fell silent as he stood still, waiting. A guard held out a silver cup of water. Leo accepted it and turned toward the hidden alley. Then he spoke, softly, but so all could hear. "First, I must give this water to someone who needs it more." Gasps rippled through the assembly. The nobles clicked in annoyance. But Leo did not waver. He walked down the short steps of the platform and carried the cup across the plaza. Whispers followed him. He disobeys. What a foolish human. Yet some watchers paused, intrigued by his calm courage. At the alley's entrance, the old woman stood and held out her hands. Leo knelt beside her and offered the water. She drank slowly, her eyes closing with relief. The hum of the plaza seemed to soften, as though it watched in awe. When the woman finished, Leo helped her to her feet and covered her shoulders with the warm jacket he wore. She whispered, "You still serve others before yourself." Leo simply nodded. Together, they turned back toward the crowd. At the foot of the platform, Leo paused and spoke once more. Kindness is not a spectacle. It is a gift. His voice carried on the cool breeze. Silence fell like a blanket over the plaza. Even the nobles seemed still, their jeweled collars reflecting the dawn. Then the woman stepped forward. She brushed back her graying hair and with a swift motion removed her shawl. Beneath it lay a gown of deepest violet embroidered with silver runes. She lifted the shawl to reveal a simple crown carved from moonstone. The crowd gasped. The noble's eyes widened in shock and shame. The old woman spoke in a clear, strong voice. "I am Empress Seralina of the Quarren Star Kingdom. This boy has shown me more honor than any court ever did." Leo felt his cheeks warm as he bowed his head. The nobles drifted backward, their laughter gone. A hush held the plaza. Then Empress Seralina smiled at Leo and said, "Your kindness is the greatest treasure of all." She turned to the nobles and offered mercy. Learn compassion, and our worlds will flourish together. The nobles bowed their heads, humbled by the moment, as the suns rose fully above the horizon. Merchants opened their stalls, and the plaza returned to life. But the story of Leo's brave act spread like warm light. Children pointed as they passed, and traders nodded with respect. Leo stood beside Empress Seralina, holding the carved star charm that still pulsed gently in his palm. He felt a new hope rise inside him. In that dawnlit plaza, a human boy's simple choice had shifted the hearts of many, and a hidden queen had revealed a brighter future for all. The morning after the revelation, the plaza was alive with new energy. Merchants opened their stalls under soft lantern light, and curious whispers rose among the crowd. On the marble steps, Empress Seralina stood beside Leo. She raised her hand, and silence fell. With a gentle voice, she announced, "Today we begin the School of Compassion, led by Leo." Murmurs turned to warm applause, and crystal bells chimed overhead. Leo's heart pounded in his chest. He looked at Seralina, who offered an encouraging smile. He bowed, feeling a mix of pride, excitement, and gentle shyness as the crowd cheered his name. Leo stepped forward, palms slightly trembling, remembered his mother's lessons about kindness on earth, and took a steady breath. His bright eyes met the crowd as he began. Once he said, "I saw a woman sitting alone in the cold. She had no warm coat and only a few coins. Could not leave. Her, there." He paused, then continued, "I gave her my jacket and shared my meal. In that moment, I felt a warmth stronger than the sun's." The crowd listened in quiet wonder. Even the blue-skinned nobles lowered their collars. When Leo finished, silence held the plaza, then gentle applause rippled through the stones. Leo's chest filled with hope as he smiled. Empress Seralina placed a calm hand on Leo's shoulder and addressed the nobles and merchants. "Let us meet each week to learn kindness and true hospitality." Slowly, nobles descended from their hover discs and laid their jeweled collars. At her feet, merchants offered their stalls as classrooms, and traders promised free supplies for the school. Fruit vendors would teach sharing fruit, and crystal traders would teach patient listening. Even the spice merchant offered sweet tea. Lessons in empathy. The hidden alley became a circle of learning where kindness was the greatest lesson. Tears of joy and pride shone in Seralina's eyes as the crowd united around this new purpose. Later that day, Leo walked beside Empress Seralina through the newly cleared plaza. They paused under the tall crystal tree at the center, whose branches glowed with soft silver light pulsing in rhythm with the star charm in Leo's hand. Seralina knelt and touched the tree's trunk. She explained that her ancestors planted it centuries ago to mark places of hope. Now it blooms again with compassion's light, she said. Leo pressed the charm against the bark. The glow intensified, sending warm light across every face. Children gasped in wonder. Seralina smiled and said, "This tree will remind us to share our light every day." Over the next days, the school opened under the glowing branches. Students from many worlds gathered in the plaza. Leo taught with simple games, sharing scarves, passing warm bowls of soup, and listening to each other's stories. A human child taught aliens an earth song about caring for friends, while a Zelvorian youngster showed humans how to brew calming herbal tea. Gentle laughter and soft voices filled the air. Beneath the tree's lowest branch, the old beggar's shawl hung as a banner of hidden strength. Each morning, Empress Seralina greeted students with a warm nod, praising their efforts. By eve, the plaza glowed with unity and strangers left as friends. Weeks passed and kindness bloomed across the Zelvorian moon. Neighbors left baskets of bread at doorsteps, and travelers found fresh fruit in gentle company. Merchants offered help to those who needed it, and nobles wore simple crystal collars as a mark of their promise. Leo's life had changed beyond his dreams. He no longer felt like a visitor from Earth, but a member of a family across many stars. Each evening, he stood beneath the glowing tree, holding the star charm, and watched soft light chase away long shadows. He whispered, "May kindness guide our steps always," and the tree pulsed in reply. Ask ChatGPT. 1 month after the school began, a pale blue shuttle descended above the plaza. Quarren Envoy stepped out, his dark robes brushing the stone floor. He carried a scroll sealed with silver wax. Word spread quickly. The Empire sought proof that compassion could bridge worlds. Merchants paused in their work, and scholars closed their crystal tablets. Empress Seralina met the envoy beneath the glowing tree. Leo stood close by, heart pounding with both pride and quiet nerves. The envoy bowed low, his stern face unreadable. He rose and spoke in measured tones. "I have come to test your school of compassion. If it fails, the Quarren Star Kingdom will withdraw its support." His voice echoed through the hushed plaza. Nobles on hover discs drifted down, curious and cautious. Merchants watched from stalls of fruit and silk. The envoy's words felt sharp, yet beneath them lay a fragile hope. Leo clenched the star charm in his palm, remembering Seralina's gentle smile. Seralina raised a hand and said, "We welcome your test with open hearts. Let us begin." She gestured to a circle of students, humans, Zelvorians, and traders from distant stars. Leo stepped forward and offered the envoy a simple gift, a small woven basket of fresh berries. "These are shared with respect," he said softly. The envoy accepted the basket with a slight nod, his dark eyes flicking over the bright fruit. A faint hum passed through the crowd as the charm in Leo's hand pulsed. Next, the envoy was guided to a low table set with bowls of tea and warm bread. Each student offered a cup and a kind word. Leo watched as the envoy hesitated, then lifted a bowl of tea in both hands. He sipped slowly, his stern gaze softening with each gentle flavor. The plaza felt alive with calm energy. Crystal lanterns overhead glowed brighter as if cheering the moment. Merchants whispered in wonder. True kindness moves even the hardest heart. The envoy then spoke of his home world, where power often ruled and mercy was rare. His voice quivered as he described families torn apart by pride and fear. A hush fell, and Leo felt tears sting his eyes. When the envoy paused, the students placed hands on their hearts. Seralina stepped forward and said, "Compassion is strength, not weakness." Her voice was calm but full of power. The envoy closed his scroll and lowered his head, moved by her words. As the group shared warm bread, a young trader accidentally knocked over a tin of sweet tea. The amber liquid spilled onto the envoy's dark robes. A gasp ran through the crowd. The envoy stiffened, fists clenching at his sides. Traders held their breath, unsure of what would follow. In that tense moment, Leo knelt on the cool stone, offering the envoy clean cloth and gentle words. "Let me help, sir. I am sorry this happened." Not the envoy looked down at Leo's bowed head. His breathing slowed. After a long moment, he took the cloth and dabbed the tea stain. Then he placed a hand on Leo's shoulder. "Thank you, boy," he said quietly. Around them, the plaza breathed again. The nobles on hover discs gave respectful bows. The merchants returned to their stalls, their whispers soft with awe. Compassion had turned possible anger into understanding. By dusk, the envoy stood before Saralina and Leo. He unsealed the scroll and read its final line aloud. "The school of compassion is genuine. I pledge the Quarren Empire's support, and will share these lessons across our worlds." A cheer rose like warm sunlight through the plaza. Crystal bells chimed in celebration. Leo felt his chest swell with hope as he held the glowing star charm. That night, Leo walked under the silver branches of the glowing tree. The envoy's promise hung in the gentle air, and the charm pulsed softly in his hand. He thought of the old woman who first taught him that kindness mattered. A crying envoy, a bowed noble, and a cheering crowd all knew it too. Leo whispered to the night, "May our light of compassion shine forever." And the tree's lanterns glowed a little, brighter as if answering his wish. Ask ChatGPT. Leo stood beneath the glowing branches of the crystal tree as dawn's light crept over the plaza. Students laughed and shared scarves, while nobles and merchants greeted each other with warm bows. Empress Saralina watched from the marble steps, her eyes soft with pride. Leo felt a gentle happiness in his chest as he saw worlds unite in simple kindness. Traders from distant stars offered fresh fruit and crystal gifts again. Children of many skins played tag among lanterns. In that morning glow, Leo understood how far their small school of compassion had come. He wandered to the tree's trunk and pressed the star charm against the smooth crystal bark. Its soft pulse matched his heartbeat. Memories of the old beggar filled his mind, her quiet strength and wise words. He thought of every meal they had shared and every smile they had sparked. Tears blurred his vision, but he smiled. Compassion had grown from a single act into a movement across worlds. Leo closed his eyes and whispered thanks to the light that guided him, promising to carry it wherever he went. Empress Saralina approached and placed a gentle hand on Leo's shoulder. She spoke in a low, kind voice. "Your heart has touched many. Now it is time to share our lessons with the Galactic Council." A hush fell over the plaza. Leo's eyes widened with both honor and fear. Saralina continued, "You will travel with our envoys as a symbol of hope. Your simple words and acts will teach others to open their hearts." Leo bowed his head, feeling the weight of her trust. He nodded, ready to serve beyond the Zelvorian moon. Friends gathered to say farewell. The fruit vendor pressed a basket of glowing berries into Leo's arms. The three-eyed trader offered a smooth crystal pebble for safe travels. Children crowded around to give hand-drawn ribbons. Leo accepted each gift with a humble bow, his cheeks warm. When the pale blue shuttle arrived, he hugged Saralina tight. She whispered, "Go with our light," wiped a tear and climbed the ramp. The plaza watched in quiet awe as the human boy who began it all prepared to leave. Inside the shuttle, Leo found a small window seat. He placed the star charm on the sill and watched the old school come into view. The crystal tree glowed beneath him like a beacon. The plaza shrank as the shuttle lifted, carrying Leo toward distant worlds. He pressed his forehead to the cool glass, breathing in hope and promise. Each pulse of the charm seemed to guide him forward. As the Zelvorian moon slipped from sight, Leo whispered, "May our light reach every corner of the stars." Years passed, and the school of compassion grew into a network of kind circles on many worlds. Leo returned only in memory, his name spoken with warmth across planets. On Earth, a new council hall bore the crystal tree's mark, and Zelvorian envoys served tea alongside human diplomats. Saralina's crown rested on a gilded stand in the hall, reminding all of what kindness could do. Travelers told stories of a human boy whose simple heart changed empires. Leo's lessons lived on in each gentle greeting and each shared meal. One quiet evening, as twin moons rose, Leo came back at last. He walked alone through the now vast plaza beneath the crystal tree. Lanterns glowed in every language's color, and laughter filled the air. He pressed the star charm to his chest and looked up at the branches, pulsing with light. A small smile curved his lips. Compassion had become his legacy, and the future was bright. Leo whispered into the warm night, "May kindness be our guide. Forever." The tree's glow deepened in reply, as if promising it would. Ask ChatGPT.